What's up, everybody? Welcome to Touchdown Texas, episode 23. I'm your host, Shiva Patel, and I'm my co host here, Nick Rodriguez. Nick, what a spring on the 40 acres so far. Texas women's basketball is absolutely killing it. Softball looks like one of the best teams in the country. Baseball is top 15 in the country. They start the season off 4-1. Softball is a top 5 team in the country. It's a good time to be a Longhorn, Nick.
It's a great time to be a Longhorn after finishing a great football season, being that close to a national championship game. It's great to see other sports also performing at a high level, and I'm excited. It's a great time to be a Longhorn here in the springtime. It's awesome.
And yes, it is. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in as we are happy Combine Week. The Combine starts on Thursday. It's going to be a huge time, for the Texas Longhorns. We're going to get into that. We're going to preview which Longhorns to watch, and let's see them put on a show. But before then, be sure to follow us at touchdown_Texas on our social media channels, and be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can find all our content. If you're new to Touchdown Texas and you want to see our content from during the season, just go down and look at it on the YouTube archives. Me and Nick reacted to some awesome games, so be sure to check that out, Longhorn fans, as we are in the off season. Well, fortunately, Nick, let's talk about one of the sports that has not been doing so hot recently: Texas men's basketball. So, Nick, what an embarrassing game last night. They fall to South Carolina, who was 0-13 in SEC play. Talk about what you saw last night and Texas's tournament chances.
Well, I still think we have a good shot at the tournament, but when you have that sort of performance last night on the road, and like you said, it's a team that hasn't won a conference game yet. I think they were 10-16 going into the game overall, and then 0-13 in conference play. Didn't really show up, really. I mean, like we watched the game together last night. I mean, a lot of the buckets that we were getting or shots we were getting were very difficult. And a lot of shots that they were getting, because we looked pretty small, especially last night, looked very easy. Now, did they make every single shot? Obviously not, but they had a lot of opportunities to rebound and make second opportunity shots. For us, even when Trey was cooking and he had another great night, they were very difficult, high caliber shots. So, you have to be more consistent. I think that's something that we hit on last night is if you want to be a tournament team, we got to finish strong. We got to play well in the SEC tournament, and there's still a lot of room for that. But, you beat Kentucky, you lay an egg against Carolina, they're not as bad as the record indicates. They're not as bad as 0-13, but you needed that one badly after seemingly locking your position or after beating a really good Kentucky team, then you kind of fall over and trip over your feet when you lose to Carolina.
For sure. Just to clarify, they're not 0-13. Like, that's not their overall record. Like Nick said, it's 10-16. They're just 0-13 in SEC play. So they hadn't won a game. It is one of the toughest conferences in the history of college basketball. But to going last night, I was mainly disappointed in the Texas defense. So South Carolina's best player is Colin Murray-Broyles. He's the post player, and we just made things too easy for him. They love to dump it down to him in the post, and I would like to see double teams because he is their main player. He scored 22 points last night. He's their only threat on offense, South Carolina. Well, instead, we let him go one-on-one against our bigs who are not as big as him, and he absolutely feasted. And they even had him a couple times at the top of the free throw line, and all he did was just a simple jab step, driving to the right. And where was the help defense? That we were hugged up on their shooters somehow when South Carolina is not a great shooting team. And the defense was just awful last night. We allowed South Carolina shot 45 free throws last night. So we were just lazy, not disciplined on defense, fouling too much. And then on offense, like Nick said, with just a lot of tough shots that led to misses that got them to transition easy points. So that was super disappointing, to see, as well. And we just got out rebounded. We got out physical. We got out tough. And yes, South Carolina has played a lot of teams close, like Tennessee, Vanderbilt, but still, there's a reason they haven't won a game in SEC play. And they were a team that did not have a lot of confidence going into last night, and we let them build that confidence throughout the game, and it bit us.
Definitely. I mean, like you said, the size thing. I mean, as we were watching the game, it was very easy for them to get extra rebounds or extra attempts at the basket, and we looked very small. We didn't look that physical, I thought, last night. I mean, there was a stretch late in the second half where we made a little push to come back a little bit and make it a little bit more respectable, I guess. We ended up losing by 15, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I mean, they still hit some bigger shots to eventually make it a 15-point game. I think the closest we got it was what, 10, 11, 12 range, right?
Yeah.
We kind of flirted with the comeback, but then as soon as we did that, it was just a little too late. I don't think we came out with the right intensity the entire game, but I still think we can be a tournament team. We just really got to close things out in the next few weeks. I know we got Mississippi State, we got Arkansas, we got Georgia, all teams that are in and, you know, trying to better their chances. And then the SEC tournament, you know, everyone gets into the tournament, so got to get in there. It'd help if we win a couple more games here in conference play, and then it'd be ideal to win a couple in the tournament, and which is possible. I think we can. I'm not saying, you know, we're done, but it's just the consistency hasn't been there this season, and it's kind of frustrating when you have a top 10, top 5 pick in Trey Johnson. You hate to see that wasted. Hopefully we at least get to the tournament and we get at least one game from him and we can see him ball out. But right now it's just a little up and down right now.
It definitely is. So you hit on the last 4 games. I'll say them again. We play at Arkansas on Wednesday. Then we play Georgia at home Saturday. Then we have to go at Mississippi State. And then we end the season at home against Oklahoma. All 4 teams that we play are fighting for tournament bids, maybe with the exception of Mississippi State, but all the other teams are fighting for tournament bids. So out of those 4 games, Nick, I'm going to ask you, what's going to be our record? There's going to be 2 at home, 2 on the road. Do we go 3-1, 2-2? How are you feeling?
Oh, man. So it's Arkansas, Mississippi State, Georgia, and Oklahoma. I'm confident that we'll beat Georgia and Oklahoma. So that's 2. Man, we really need 3.
Yes.
We really need Arkansas or Mississippi State. Is Mississippi State at home?
No, both Arkansas and Mississippi State are on the road.
Oof. I'll just say we somehow would beat Arkansas, who's also been inconsistent at times, although they had a good win last night against Missouri. But I think just because we're so desperate and we need it and we look terrible, I think you can get a motivating win maybe, and because we really, really, really need it. And I think all those teams are probably tournament teams, except maybe Oklahoma. I don't know. Does Oklahoma sneak in? Maybe.
They're in right now because they won last night against Mississippi State at home.
They've had some good wins recently.
Right.
They beat us, and they're in a similar situation as us. They need to win a couple. Georgia, I think Georgia's in for me, but it's close. They could be out. So, like you said, it's a motivating team. It's not like we're playing a team who's like locked in as a 1 or 2 seed. You know, of course they'd be motivated anyways, but I'll go out on a limb and say 3-1. If I had to put money on it, I'd say we go 2-2 and we lose. But we beat Kentucky. We played a really good game against Auburn. So I think we will go 3-1, hopefully, because we really need it. We'll beat Georgia. I feel good about that. We'll beat Oklahoma. Mississippi State's going to be tough. But hopefully we go 3-1. That would really help our chances. And then win at least one game in the SEC basketball tournament. 2 would be a lot. If we win 2, we go 3-1 and 2-1, get eliminated in the 3rd game in the SEC tournament, we'll be it, no doubt. But just got to make it happen.
So I want to go 3-1 so badly, thinking that we're going to sneak somewhere on the road. But Arkansas, again, they're one of like the last 2 teams in the tournament right now, and with Calipari, let's see if what he said was going to motivate his team, or is it going to be go the other way. I'm going to go 2-2. I think
Yeah,
Mississippi State is too good right now. I've watched them a lot this year. They're really good, Mississippi State. Arkansas, it's just they hate Texas so much more than we hate them. That crowd is going to be riled up on a
yeah.
Wednesday night after they just come back, after they just came through with a huge home win against Missouri. That's going to be a tough game to win. But then that means if we lose those two road games, those home games are must win. We must go 2-2. And then that means if we go 2-2, in my opinion, we have to win two SEC tournament games. So it's going to be interesting, but I think we could definitely get it done. And our last point before we move on, about basketball is I was just also disappointed in the other players besides Trey Johnson last night. Trey Johnson had 29 points. No other player on our team had more than 9 points. Like, where is the consistency? Where is the help to Trey Johnson? Because Trey Johnson, he's not one of those players that just shoots a ton. He'll take bad shots, but he knows he has to score for this team to be able to win. Otherwise, without Trey Johnson, we would not even be in this conversation. So those other guys need to step up. Trayvon Mark, who had a great game against Kentucky, he was a no-show yesterday. Mark Pope was a no-show. Kent, Julian Larry, those other guys need to come in and help Trey Johnson because all the defenses is keying on him, and it opens stuff up for those other guys. And they just missed shots last night, and they need to make those shots if we want to have a chance of winning these games down the stretch. Well, now let's talk about the football team. So the combine, like I said, it is combine week. 14 players got invited from the Texas Longhorns. I'll just read out the names: Quinn Ewers, Jaden Blue, Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden, Gunnar Helm, Kelvin Banks, Hayden Connor, Jake Majors, Jake Majors, Vernon Broden, Baron Sorrell, Alfred Collins, Jade Barron, and Makuba. So Nick, 14 players is just one off from Ohio State, who had 15 players, invited to the combine. What are you looking for, and how many of these players do you think are going to get drafted?
I think a lot of them will get drafted. A lot of them are talented players and were key players to our team last year. It's just going to be how well do they test. I think I'm not going to look at Quinn as much. I think for Quinn, he's going to interview well. He's going to test well. Like you mentioned a few weeks ago on a pod, Quinn did well last year when he was throwing to Worthy, and they were, scouts were impressed by him then. He's going to test well. He's talented. Mm-hmm. It's when he gets picked, how consistent is he going to be when he gets into the NFL? It's going to be more about how guys run. It's going to be how fast can Matthew Golden run. I think he would really have to butcher his 40 time for him to fall out of the first round. I mean, guys, draft analysts, NFL guys, fans have fallen in love with Matthew Golden probably since the Florida game, where he just took off and went on a whole nother level. So I think it's his 40 time. I think it's Jaden Blue's 40 time. He's a late rounder guy. I probably would say 6 or 7 to Jaden Blue, but if he has a great 40 time, maybe that goes up to the 5th round, 4th round. It's really going to go down to that for me. I'm not as worried about Quinn as much. I think he's going to test well. When he does the interviews, he's going to do well in that space. He's, been leading a big-time team for a long time. Jade Barron, I think he's going to test really well too. I think it's just some of those receivers. How well does Isaiah Bond test? Is he completely healthy now? That's interesting to me too, but I think it's between those 3 guys and their 40 times mainly.
And my apologies, I missed one guy, Big Cam Williams. He's going to be the one that's going to be the most intriguing to me because he came out early. He only started 1 year this year for the Longhorns at right tackle. So let's see how he's going to be able to test because he's one of those guys. He has all the measurables. He's 6'6", 350. But let's see how fluid he is on his feet when they do those lineman drills. How he's a mauler, so he's going to show the physicality. But if he could show the feet quickness and in the reactive quickness, that he could definitely move up on those draft boards because he could be like an Amarius Mims for Georgia a couple years ago that only started that 1 year but ended up getting drafted in the first round because he, like I said, he has the measurables. He put out good tape. He cleaned up the penalties as the year went on. So Cam Williams is a player that I'm definitely, watching. And to answer the question of how many of these players are going to get drafted, I think the only players that might be a little bit of a struggle is, it's either going to be a Jake Majors and a Hayden Connor. So I'm going to go with like 12. I believe 12 of these players are going to get drafted and hear their name called in April.
I agree. I think last year we had 11 drafted, and I
Yep.
think this is a stronger class. You got more first round talent. Three locks for sure. You could see, like you said, Cam Williams. He might even flirt with the first round pick. Do the Chiefs go after him since they have a weak offensive line? He'd be towards the end of the first round. You could get up to four guys. I'm definitely taking the over as far as, are we going to match last year's? Are we going to be even below? I think we're going to hit at least 12, maybe even 13. But we're looking at 3 locks in the first round, several in the second or third round, depending on where Quinn goes. Makuba, I think he's really interesting to me. Where does he go? I feel like he doesn't get talked about enough. Everyone talks about Jahdae Barron, talk about Banks. Of course, you're going to talk about the quarterback and Quinn, but Makuba was amazing last year. He was an awesome defensive back for Clemson. He was very big in our playoff run. He made the game-winning interception against Arizona State. He's going to be interesting to me. I think he's a guy that he's smart. He's talented. To me, he would go second round, third round. We'll see where he lands, but it's going to be. I don't feel like we talk about him enough. We'll see where he lands. Fine, and all the mock drafts are out.
Yeah, he's not a player that a lot of people talk about. You're a little bit higher on him than me. I think he's more like a 4th round pick, but if he runs really well, then he has a chance to really go up because he had 3 to 4 interceptions this year. So he's a ball hawk. He's not afraid to hit you. He doesn't have the exact measurables you want, but just look at the tape. Turn on the tape. Look at the production. He's not afraid to help with the run support. He'll get into you. He'll tackle you. He's very physical. He like I said, he has great ball skills. It's just a thing of how well he's going to run, but he has a lot of good tape out there. And Makuba, I say 4th round right now, but I would not be surprised if it's like a second or mid-second or 3rd round pick. Another player I want to talk about is Gunnar Helm. He has a chance to go the 3rd round, in my opinion right now, because he's one of the best tight ends, in the country. He had a lot of production. He can block, and he's a receiving threat. He's very fluid. He'll run, very well. He can make contested catches. He has, strong hands. So he's not going to be the first tight end drafted, but I think he can be like tight end 2 or 3 and get drafted in the 3rd round, or maybe even get pushed up, to the 2nd round. So now let's talk about. So we have some mock drafts that have been coming out. Let's talk about Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network's mock draft that came out just like I believe 3 or 4 days ago, and he has 3 Longhorns drafted in the 1st round, which looks very likely to happen. So the first Longhorn he has is Kelvin Banks to the Bears at number 10. Would this be a good fit for Kelvin Banks? Can you see that happening? Him going at number 10?
I think so. I think, we talked about him going to the Patriots in the top 5 earlier. That doesn't seem like that's going to happen. It seems like Banks is going to fall just a little bit. Obviously, top 10 is a very high pick. So I think Bears need offensive line help. They need to protect their quarterback, Caleb Williams. And if they have any shot of doing anything with him, which I still think is a great talented quarterback, Caleb Williams, you need to protect him. And the best way to do that is drafting one of the premier offensive tackles in the draft, which would be Kelvin Banks. He's going to be one of the best. There's Will Campbell from LSU. There's a couple other guys in the mix as well. I think this would be a great fit for him. And it's a position of need for the Bears as well. So I think this would be a good marriage. There's other teams that we've talked about as well. We've talked about the Patriots. I just think they're going to lean more Will Campbell or, another position. There's the Dolphins that we've talked about, which would be a little further down. If he falls, maybe he doesn't test the best. But I still think this is where the Banks starts, where he could start getting drafted. It's number 10 here at the Chicago Bears. Definitely need him.
I think that would be a great value pick for the Bears if they could get Kelvin Banks at number 10. He's a top 5 pick in my opinion, Nick. And he's just getting dinged because he's 6'4" compared to Will Campbell is 6'6", and they don't think that he has the arm length to be able to completely play at tackle, which I think is ridiculous. Because they think he might be a guard at the next level. Well, if you start him at guard, great, but he's eventually going to be a tackle in the NFL because he started every single game besides like one or two since his freshman year. His freshman year, he absolutely dominated Will Anderson in the Alabama game, who Will Anderson went in the top 3. He also, dominated the other 3 first-round picks that went in the draft that year. Kelvin Banks is really good with his hands. He's allowed the least amount of pressures in college football last year and even the previous 2 years. And he's a player that's a high character kid. He's going to work hard. He's going to do everything right. He's a great leader, and he's going to have production for you. He is going to be a guy that can be your franchise left tackle for 10 to 15 years. And I think the Patriots should draft Kelvin Banks, but they are leaning more Will Campbell, who had a good year, but I believe he had a better year the year before that than this year. And I think that's what a lot of scouts are thinking about, but they just like the measurables of Will Campbell a little bit better. But Kelvin Banks should go higher than 10, but 10 would be a phenomenal landing spot with the Bears for Kelvin Banks. So let's talk about the second Longhorn now. Jahdae Barron. This is an interesting one, Nick. At 17 to the Bengals. Do you like this fit, or do you think Jahdae can go even earlier than 17?
I like this fit. I do think he can go a little earlier. First, when I was taking a look at this, I haven't seen him go to Cincinnati yet in mock draft.
Right.
So I do like him going to Cincinnati. They definitely need defense help in general. Whether that's cornerback, whether that's defensive line. So Cincinnati would need a guy like Jahdae Barron. I love that. Other teams that I've seen him go to has been the 49ers. Mm-hmm. I've seen him go to the Falcons. I've seen the Falcons also go after Will Johnson, who's another talented corner. He's out of Michigan. So I love this pick, actually. This is a really good fit to me because I think Cincinnati would really, really need him. They do. Just to get to the NFL side a little bit, just talking about Burrow and how amazing of a year he had, could have won MVP. But just getting torched on the defensive side of the ball. And if you get a guy in Jahdae Barron, you already have Trey Hendrickson up front. If they keep him, maybe they trade him. But you get a lockdown corner, and you can go, okay, Jahdae, you can, you're going to lock down one of the guys. And if you're in the AFC North, there's a lot of guys that you play in the AFC as far as talented receivers and everything like
even
that.
In your division, yeah.
Even in your division. So I think that'd be a smart guy to go after. I think just looking here at the list, I think that makes sense for the Falcons. Just add another defensive back. The Cardinals, I think that makes a lot of sense. But I think the Bengals and the other fit that I really liked was the 49ers. I think both of those, they could really use another weapon, another guy that's just going to get after you, going to tackle, very, very smart, high IQ, amazing dude off the field. I haven't seen him mocked to Cincinnati, but I kind of fallen in love with it. I think he'd fit in great with their culture, and he would just ball out and be immediate fan favorite for that much-needed, very, very weak defense, and he would help shore up things as much as he could.
Definitely a weak defense. I don't think their defensive line is bad. Their defensive line played well. It's just their secondary. They just allowed too many passing yards.
Right. There's nobody back there.
There was nobody back there.
Right.
So, yeah, this would be a phenomenal pick actually for the Bengals because
I agree.
Jahdae Barron's a high IQ player. He won the Thorpe Award. He's very seasoned, spending 5 years in college, so he's not going to be a project. You know what you're going to get from Jahdae Barron, and he's a guy that's going to work hard. He loves watching film, so he's going to be in the film room constantly, studying opponents' tendencies, which is specifically key in this division because, again, you have to face the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns in this division. So those are some tough teams, maybe except the Browns, but the first two, those are tough teams to play. And Jahdae Barron is a very versatile player. He started his career at nickel. So he played nickel for the first 2-3 years of his career. Then he moved to corner, but also at necessity, we saw him get moved a couple of times to safety when Derek Williams got lost due to injury. So he could play either cornerback or safety. So he's a movable chess piece for the Bengals. He could get turnovers. He was amazing in the Arkansas game. That first half, he was awesome. And so he's going to be a player that's going to always be around the ball, that's not afraid to tackle and help and run support, and he's going to make all the plays needed, for the secondary. But if he doesn't get drafted by the Bengals, I have another team that Jahdae Barron would be a great fit at. What about the Green Bay Packers at number 23?
Ooh,
Because
wow.
because Eric Stokes, their former first-round pick, has been up and down, due to injury. And then they have Jair Alexander, who's amazing, but he also has had injuries. So what if you put Jahdae Barron with the Packers? Because that Packers, they've already built up their linebackers in their front seven, but they're trying to shore up their secondary. So that would be another great spot, in my opinion, if Jahdae Barron doesn't get picked by the Falcons or the Bengals in the mid-first round.
First of all, I think the only reason why he would be lower than that is just because the cornerback position isn't as valued as other positions. So talent-wise, to me, he's a top 10 player. Just corner isn't as sought out for. So that's why he might fall to 15, 17. First of all, the 23 pick, the Green Bay Packers, the reason why I love this so much, one, I love when a team goes, let's make a strength. Like, let's just go all in. And I like Eric Stokes out of UGA, but the injuries have piled up for sure. Jair Alexander is one of the premier corners in the league, but he's been banged up the last few years. Put Jahdae Barron, a young cornerback there.
Oh.
And then you think about the NFC North quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, I guess if he sticks around in Green Bay.
Or J.J. McCarthy. It could be J.J.
Or J.J. McCarthy, right?
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson is on the Vikings. Like, so, man, that's just a great fit. And the other reason why I like it, Green Bay likes drafting corners, as you just said.
They do.
They do. Jair Alexander, he was a first-round pick or second-round pick.
First-round pick, you nailed it, yeah.
Yeah, Eric Stokes went early. I don't think he might be he went early. First couple rounds. So this is not like, they don't like taking receivers, but they do like taking corners. So that would be, if he were to fall, and I don't think he gets that far, but maybe they trade up, they would definitely snag him, because that's just the kind of guy that, and he would fit in so well with that team. Imagine them going against the Vikings. You got Jair, hopefully healthy, Stokes, who's hopefully healthy, and then Jahdae, who hasn't had much of an injury concern, going against Justin Jefferson and those guys. You could really get creative when you just go all in on that. It's kind of like the Patriots when they had so many good defensive backs back in the day. So I love that if he can last that long, which I don't know if he will.
I don't think he will either, but the NFC North, the NFC North has great wide receivers. Keenan Allen with the Bears, Roma Dudze, Amon-Ra, Justin Jefferson, even Jordan Hawkinson, Jordan Addison.
Addison.
Like, it's ridiculous how many great wide receivers. But I want to ask, so me and Nick had this discussion last night. Is Jahdae Barron, we're just talking about pure cornerback. So is he the best cornerback in this draft class? Compare him to Travis Hunter just as a cornerback and not a receiver, and Will Johnson, Nick.
I think he is. I think, take the Thorpe Award aside, if you just look at the film, I think Jahdae Barron is the number one corner in this class. I think my second would be Will Johnson, and then Travis Hunter would be third to me. I think Travis Hunter, to me, we were talking about it last night, he's obviously a freak. He's very freaky. He's an athletic player, and he's just very smart and he's talented. But I think as far as like a cover corner, nickel corner, a guy that will come down and hit you and be consistent, to me, it's Jahdae Barron and Will Johnson. I like both of those guys better than I like Travis Hunter. Will Johnson's had the injury concerns. I get that. But I like both of those guys' skill. They are more corner-like players to me. They're more dominant in their positions to me. Travis Hunter, to me, is just a really good athlete who's good at corner. I think, and I saw he's going into the combine, he's just a corner, right?
Yeah,
so
correct. Yep.
He won the receiver award for best receiver, Travis Hunter, which I think is ridiculous.
Me too.
I think was a fine receiver. Like, he's obviously a very athletic guy, and I think if you're the Browns and you take him, like, you use him any way you can, right? You get butts and seats. But Is he a better wide receiver than Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams or, Matthew Golden? No. Is he a better corner than Johnny Barron or Will Johnson? No. I think he's an average wide receiver and an elite corner, Travis Hunter, but not the best one. So I would have him third as cornerback rankings. And you can see that even he and probably his team believes that because he came out in the combine as a corner, not a wide receiver.
He is, I think, going to play majority quarterback in the NFL. And yeah, you nailed it. Travis Hunter, athletically, there's no comparing. Will Johnson and Johnny can't sniff him athletically. But if we're talking about, but there's more to the position, just athleticism. There's smarts. There's ball skills. There's hand placement, how to use your hands as a corner. There's running. Even though Travis Hunter is a great runner, Johnny Barron is an overall better quarterback because he's a little bit more seasoned. I keep saying this. He can play multiple positions. He can play nickel. He can play safety. So he can move around in the secondary compared to Travis Hunter, who's just going to be a cornerback. And I think, yeah, I would rank still Travis Hunter above Will Johnson, even though it's very close. But yes, I would put Johnny Barron number one over Travis Hunter, but it is going to be close. But I still think Travis Hunter is going to get drafted above Johnny Barron. But if you're talking about just the position, who's going to be a better pure cornerback in the NFL, I'm going to have my money on Johnny Barron. I think you agree with that, Dick.
I do. I mean, I think over the last 2 years, Johnny has really shown how talented he is. And Will Johnson, I like a lot too.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot this past year, he was hurt, which is going to kill his stock a little bit, even though a lot of mocks still have Will really high, a lot of them higher than Jade. We'll see how healthy he is now with the combine. That's an interesting back and forth to me. I think if you take Travis, and we were talking about this last night, you got to use him as a gadget, right? Like you got to use him as a corner.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be some sort of butts and seats. Like he's going to get more butts and seats than Jade will. No one wants to see. I mean, no one's going to really care about Johnny Barron, right? Unless you're like a super fan, right, of Texas or whatever, right? He's not going to get you like Travis Hunter is going to be like, oh, this is awesome, right? Will Johnson's not going to do that, right?
Yeah.
So if you're the Browns, I would take Travis Hunter, and you got to use him as a wide receiver. You got to use him as a little scat back. You got to use him as a corner. Use him all over the place, right? But if it's just like, hey, it's 4th and goal, I need to cover a guy, it's Johnny Barron or it's Will Johnson.
Yep, facts. I definitely agree, and I think we're gonna see. But they're both gonna have great careers. I think Johnny just gonna be a little bit of a higher level because he's able to focus on one position. It seems Travis Hunter is gonna be juggling both. So let's see if that stunts his development. And again, you cannot underestimate film study. Johnny Barron lives in the film room. You could tell he loves football. Not that Travis Hunter doesn't. You could tell Travis Hunter loves football, but Johnny Barron, I think, is just on a whole different level with just the IQ aspect of the game. So let's talk about the third Longhorn that's going to go in the first round, according to Daniel Jeremiah. What about Matthew Golden at number 30 to the Buffalo Bills? Josh Allen. He's going to be teaming up with Josh Allen and company.
Well,
can you see this happening?
First of all, they're not going to let another Texas wide receiver go to the Chiefs. So I can absolutely see this happening. Pair him up with Amari Cooper, pair him up with Keon Coleman. Another weapon for them. He's got more speed than you think. And I think he'd be great in the red zone. And just give Josh Allen another chance. They have a great running game, right? Which they didn't have over the last several years. I like the running back. His name is slipping me. The running back.
James Cook?
James Cook. He's a good player.
He's very good.
He's very good. So you got that. I think it's a great fit for Buffalo. You got Amari Cooper. You have Keon Coleman, who came on strong towards the end of the year. You didn't have Amari Cooper the whole year. It was about, halfway through the year you had him. Now you get a full season of both of those guys. And then let's add in Matthew Golden. Let's give Josh Allen some weapons. They were this close to beating the Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
Would it have mattered? Would they still have gotten killed by the Eagles? Probably. But they are not going to let another Texas receiver. Obviously, I'm referring to Xavier Worthy go to the Chiefs because I think if he doesn't go to the Bills, he's going to go to the Chiefs. And you're going to have another Golden Worthy duo because they need receiver help as well. So that's my little take right there. Because both of those teams over the last few years will take receivers at the end of the first round.
Yeah, they did that right. That's a thing now. You saw the 49ers did it with Ricky Pearsall. Worthy did it.
I think he'll be good too.
Yeah,
he just had injuries and stuff. But
just injuries. I like that call, but also if he doesn't last, to the Chiefs, I can see Matthew Golden going 25th to the Texans, 26 to the Rams, 27 to the Ravens, 28 to the Lions, or even 29 to the Commanders. He could go any of those five picks before. He might be the number one. Well, no, Territory McMillan's going to get drafted.
He'll be number one, yeah.
By the Saints, probably, because I think they want to create it because they don't know what Olave with his injury history. So they'll draft McMillan, who's an awesome player, 6'6", jump ball receiver. But either of those teams that I just listed, they're all playoff teams, and they could all use a player like Matthew Golden, a guy that's going to get to the sticks, that's going to make the big catch, who at first you worry about his speed, but you see him just running past corners, so he has more speed than you think. He'll catch the ball. He has yards after catch. He's a quarterback-friendly wide receiver, Matthew Golden is, and you could tell he loves football. He loves working on his craft, and you also have the kick returning component for Matthew Golden. So not only he could be like a Cooper DeJean type of player who could still play cornerback, and then he's a kick returner. Matthew Golden could be that same type of player. He could add another dynamic piece to your offense that can get you yards, that can get you a touchdown. So I like Matthew Golden going 30 to the Bills, but like I said, he can go earlier before then.
I love those teams that you listed off. I mean, a lot of those make so much sense. You think about the Rams, where we know Cooper Kupp is going to be somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Puka and
Jay Witt too.
Jordan winning. Yeah, I mean, man, that would be a nice little combo. Stafford there, Stafford not, but it's like a new regime. Washington with Scary Terry. I like that a lot. The one that jumped out to me the most, I like the Baltimore one, but they don't really do that. They should, but I don't really see them nabbing him. The one that really jumped out to me was the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
You put him across or next to Amon-Ra. You still have a great tight end play. You have a great running game, maybe the best in the league. It's up there with Baltimore. Mm-hmm. With Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, to me, it's him, it's Saquon, it's Derrick Henry, it's Bijan for the best running backs in the league. I think him on Detroit, which is something I haven't heard a lot of, I think would be a great fit. And we've heard Pittsburgh a lot. Mm-hmm. I like all those teams. I would like to see him go to Baltimore. I think he would fit in great with Lamar and Derrick Henry. I just don't see them nabbing a guy that early. They tend to go a little bit later.
No, for sure.
Or defense. They'll get a corner or something like that. They'll take Jade. Jade there would be insane.
Oh, that would be amazing with Kyle Hamilton. With Kyle Hamilton and what's that cornerback from Alabama?
Oh my God, this is
escape.
No, that's somebody else. But no, that's the most Baltimore pick is to trade up and get Jade.
Yes, and I would love that because Golden is a red zone target as well. So he's not just a guy that's in the middle of the field that you cannot rely on the red zone. You can rely on Golden in the red zone.
100%, yes.
And so he would be awesome. And the player I was referring to, by the way, was Marlon Humphrey. I was trying to talk about Marlon Humphrey with the Ravens. So if you pair him with Jade, that would be amazing. But yeah, Golden is going to go in the first round. I think it's fair to say that all three Longhorns are going to be locked in the first round with the possibility of maybe an Isaiah Bond, depending on how he runs, Cam Williams, maybe. So let's see what happens. It's going to be very interesting. The combine starts this Thursday. So the last topic I wanted to get to before we wrap up on the show is Steve Sarkisian announced on Thursday on the Kay Adams show that Texas will be having no spring game this year. Instead, that they're going to be going to a more NFL OTA style spring practice. They get 15 of them. That's going to start after spring break, which is going to be mid-March. So I wanted to ask Nick, what was your reaction to this? And do you see this having any effect on the team going into the fall?
No effect at all. I think it'll be completely fine. It's a new trend that you're seeing around college football. USC decided to do it. Nebraska decided to do it. I like that it's going to be more NFL style. I think that's actually going to be a recruiting template. Like, let's say I was Kelvin Banks, right? I'm a freshman. Oh, you're going to do OTA style. I know I'm going to be in the league a few years. I think that's a benefit. I think it's fine. Right. I don't think if you're Texas, you should be worried about guys leaving because you're seeing film. I know Matt Rule from Nebraska has said that. Like, he was the poaching. Maybe that happens at Nebraska. It doesn't happen at USC or Texas when you're a premier program, especially Texas, because you're winning games right now. No, it's not going to change anything at all. If we don't win the championship this year, it's not because of this at all. Now, is it a little disappointing? Like, do you want to see it? Of course, but I kind of like this. I like the move because, hey, maybe we want to try something else, something out, but we don't want to televise it and have Alabama steal it, Georgia steal it. You know, you gotta take advantage where you can. And I think maybe not everyone's gonna do this year, but I bet over the next few years it's gonna be more of a common trend and people are gonna jump on it. But Nebraska, they did it first, then us, USC followed suit. I think you're gonna see more teams do this soon. Not a big deal at all.
You're definitely going to see more teams. It's starting to become a trend.
Yeah, not a big deal.
Sark mentioned two reasons why he said no spring game. First reason, which I think is the best reason to not have a spring game, wear and tear on the guys. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the last 2 years we made back-to-back semifinals, so that means we played 30 games the last 2 years, and our season barely just ended January 10th, so one month and 13 days. So Sark doesn't want to have wear and tear on the players because you're going to need them for the long haul during the summer and in fall camp. The player poachment things, which, yeah, like Nick said, I don't think Texas needs to worry about, but it's still something that if you don't want to happen or even have the possibility of that happening. So, you know, if you're Sark, which makes sense. And another thing, Sark said that we have a young team. This freshman class, you know, is going to need some development and need some seasoning. So let's have the development during the spring happen more behind closed doors to get them exposure more during the summer and during the fall, because we're going to have a young team next year. You know, we're going to have there's going to be some redshirt freshmen, sophomores that are playing. We have some juniors and seniors, but not as much as we did last year. So it's just a thing where Sark wants to make sure that these guys get a full grasp of the system that they're going to be playing in and a full grasp of the roles with the team, because they're going to be needed and relied upon, you know, in the fall. So that was another reason. It does stink a little bit for the fans in Austin, Texas, but there were some reports that Chris Del Conte is thinking about having like maybe an open practice, like a 30-minute open practice in DKR for the fans to be able to see the players, see Arch Manning throw the football around a couple of times. So there'll still be a fan event for the team to be able to see this, for the fans to be able to see the team in the spring, but it's not going to be an actual game because I don't think an actual game is actually needed, because spring games are very vanilla. And it's more for the fans and the players, because the players don't really get anything besides exposure to the spring game. So I like the idea. Sark's reasons make sense, and I like it. We're going to be behind the scenes putting in work, Nick, and those teams can be very dangerous coming into the fall.
I agree. I mean, I think it's not even news to me. It's not a big deal. Put work in behind the scenes. Hit each other. You're not going to have the same level of intensity in the spring game as you are when you play week one. That's just the way it is. But practice, now, is practice going to be the same intensity as when we go to Ohio State? No. But you can I feel like you hit each other more than you would in a spring game. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not, but you're not going to want to hit your own guys as much as you're going to hit Ohio State. You just got to practice. And this is not a big deal. Sark knows what he's doing. Do it behind closed doors. I love the idea of, hey, let's have a practice, not a game, but a practice that some fans can come to. Sure, because people do want to see Arch. People do want to see the team. You know, we're on the up and up. So I get that. It's not about shutting the fans out. It's not about protecting Arch or whatever. It's just, I think it's just about, you don't want people stealing your stuff. You want to practice on your own. You know, I don't know how much benefit you really get out of a spring game. I mean, how much does a coach take from a spring game and go, oh, yeah, because you did this in one game you're going to be the starter. I mean, maybe sometimes, but I think it's more out of the course of the offseason what the guy does other than just one spring game.
And you only Stark mentioned in spring practice you only get 15 practices, and usually teams have 14 under the 15 practice is the spring game. So
Right.
I wanted to get to Nick's point where no, you hit more in the practice than you do in the game. So Sark is thinking, why would we not use a 15 practice to hit more? We would benefit more as a team than just having just basically a scrimmage. So Sark wants to use that 15 practice for the beneficial for the team rather than just having the players not hit and kind of finessing their way through a game, because sometimes during a spring game you don't see the starters a lot or the people to be starters because you don't want them to get hurt. So
Exactly.
that takes away from your physicality, and you're going to need physicality and develop an identity because we play Ohio State the first game of the season. So this makes sense. Again, there's going to be some fan event. We don't know yet, but eventually maybe April. But this is a smart move by Stark.
Yeah, I think it makes total sense. I think we're pissed off. We lost to Ohio State. But you got to take every motivation that you can, and we got to go out and beat them and be better. And I think teams that win national championships, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, you do things a little differently. And this is his way of one little thing that is different, but it could be something small that ends up being big in the end. And we'll see.
We'll see. And yeah, if we somehow flame out again in the finals or the semifinals, it's not going to be because we didn't have a spring game. It's just
no team. I mean, no team loses the national championship or because of a spring game. Unless you get hurt. It's just overblown. It's just a tradition. It's more for the fans, like you said. It's cool. I've been to a few spring games. They're fun, but it's vanilla. They're not hitting hard. It's more for the fans than anything else.
It definitely is. And the spring game does not determine the depth chart. The spring practices of those 14 practices before the spring game do, and then the summer they still have to earn it during the summer, still have to earn it during the fall. So we'll see what's going to happen. A lot of stuff is coming up, on the 40 acres. Again, all our teams are absolutely killing it. Softball, baseball, Texas women's basketball. And maybe hopefully men's basketball will make the tournament. Spring practice is coming up mid-March. And then the big thing, the combine, again, starts on Thursday. And me and Nick will be back next Sunday reacting to everything, about the combine, what we saw, if the Longhorns players' stock went up or down. But until then, be sure to follow us on our social media channels and just like and subscribe, to our YouTube channel. And again, if you're just now new to Touchdown Texas, go back and watch our episodes, during the games, during the season. We had a great episode reacting to the Arizona State game, the Clemson game. We had a lot of fun this season. So go back in the archives, check it out. But until then, Nick, have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk again soon, man.